Hey, what's going on, guys? Jake Gottesman here, Director of Nutrition for Overtime Athletes. Today, I want to talk to you guys about a couple fad diets, what's good about them, what's not, what to avoid, and whether they're good for you. So most of the time, I'll tell my athletes, avoid these diets. The reason being is these fad diets often offer quick results. They usually work right away for a short period of time. And then when athletes, or even my athletes, get off of these fad diets, those results go away, and what they were doing before, those habits come back and they become the original athlete that they were before those fad diets. So I'm gonna give a couple of examples. First one would be the keto diet. So for those of you who don't know, the keto diet is a diet that prioritizes high fat and very, very low carb. So the problem with this is as an athlete, when you're performing, I've mentioned this in a previous video, when you eat carbs, those carbs are stored as glycogen in your muscles. So if I have, let's say, a bowl of pasta, those carbs will be stored in my bicep. And when I do a bicep curl, it'll burn that glycogen or those stored carbs right then and there, so it uses it. Now, the problem with keto is that you're not having carbs, so your glycogen, or the carbs in my bicep, are completely depleted. It can't use it. So what does it use for energy? It uses fats for energy. So fats can be used for energy. The problem is, let's say with that original example, I'm doing a bicep curl. It might take fat from my calf. It might take fat from energy from my thigh. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that what's going to be faster for a source of energy? Is it going to be the carbohydrates right in the bicep, or is it going to be, fat from my leg, which is going to have to travel farther distance and be broken down slower? It's going to be a better option to have the glycogen and those carbohydrates in your system to be used then and there. So you definitely want to make sure as an athlete that you're stocked up on glycogen and you're having a lot of carbs. The next diet is going to be intermittent fasting. So you can do intermittent fasting. Some athletes can get away with it. You just have to be careful how you go about it. So if you're an athlete that trains in the morning, bright and early, and they have a heavy lifting session, intermittent fasting might not be the best bet for you, because you have to think of yourself like a car. If you're low on gas, you're not going to be able to go fast. You're not going to be able to travel far. It's the same thing, right? So if you're gonna have a hard-hitting session, you wanna make sure you get some carbs. I always mention a starch and a fruit. Get those in your system, be able to fuel yourself up for that session. Now, if you maybe prefer a later lifting session, you might be able to get away with, skipping breakfast, which is not a problem. You just have to make sure that you're doing it in the right way and that it's something that suits your goals and your needs. Another one I'm going to talk about is the Paleo Diet. So Paleo is great for getting in nutrients, vitamins, all their food sources that they recommend are great, potatoes and things like that. The problem with that one is, like I mentioned before, as an athlete, your major fuel source is going to be those carbohydrates. It's going to be the glycogen. And now on the Paleo Diet, you're not allowed to have things like pasta. You're not allowed to have things like rice, which is going to give you all those carbohydrates for performance. What you're kind of left with is potatoes. And now I have, 200-pound football players that I work with. And if I tell them they need 400 grams of carbs and they're doing the Paleo Diet and they're only allowed white potatoes, they're gonna have to eat a lot of white potatoes to reach that carbohydrate mark that I told them about. So ultimately, with a diet, and I don't even like calling it diets, but with a diet, the two most important things are gonna be sustainability and adherence. You wanna make sure whatever diet or food choice or habits that you form, you can do for the rest of your life. So if you're gonna do keto and you plan on not having carbs for the rest of your life, that's fine. That's maybe something you can go ahead with. But if you're gonna get rid of carbs for 2 months and then introduce them back, that's not a lifestyle that you can sustain, and those aren't results that you can sustain as well. Adherence. If you're gonna I can give you the world's best diet, but if you're not gonna follow that diet, then it's not gonna be good for you and it's not gonna be good for someone else. So you wanna make sure that you can do the diet for the rest of your life, right? Don't think of it as a diet, think of it as a lifestyle. And adherence. You wanna make sure that you can actually follow it to, almost 100% if you're gonna do it. So guys, that's my take on fad diets. If you wanna learn a little bit more, check out Performance Nutrition in the link in bio.